Welcome back to Future AI Paper Review. Today, we're going deep on something pretty wild AI in the justice system. Like robot judges, algorithm lawyers, that sort of thing.
Hey, well, maybe not quite as wild as the movies,
hmm
but AI is definitely showing up in courtrooms.
Yeah, and that brings up some big questions, like, can an algorithm actually be fair? What happens to our right to a fair trial?
Exactly the kind of questions we're going to tackle today. We've got research papers, legal analyses, even real-world cases to dig into.
Okay, so where's AI actually showing up in justice systems right now?
One big one is legal research. AI tools can go through tons of case law and legal documents way faster than any human.
So, like a superpowered research assistant.
Exactly. Saving lawyers tons of time helps build stronger cases, too.
Makes sense. What else?
Drafting legal documents, contracts, pleadings, that sort of thing. Even AI chatbots giving basic legal advice to people.
Wow, so AI is making legal help more accessible.
That's the idea. Lots of challenges, but the potential's there.
Okay, so research, paperwork, what about actual decisions? Any examples of AI making judgments in court?
Well, not replacing judges with robots just yet. But there are examples of AI helping judges. Like in Italy, the Court of Cassation uses something called the CED. It uses AI for document analysis and helps with decision making.
So the AI isn't issuing rulings, but it gives judges more info.
Exactly, like a second set of eyes, well, a second set of algorithms.
But doesn't this raise concerns about bias? Algorithms are only as good as the data they learn from, right?
You're absolutely right. That's a huge challenge with AI in justice. A biased algorithm will make biased decisions.
And that could be really unfair, especially for groups that are already marginalized.
Precisely, that's why we have to be so careful about bias and try to reduce it.
So how do we do that? How do we make sure AI is used fairly and ethically?
Well, one way is to make sure the data used to train the AI is diverse and represents the population it'll be used on.
So like if it's an algorithm for sentencing decisions, it needs to be trained on data from all sorts of defendants, different backgrounds and demographics.
Exactly. And it's not just about the data, it's how the algorithms are designed, how they're used. They need to be transparent, accountable. We need to understand how they make decisions and be able to challenge them.
So like we need to be able to look under the hood and make sure it's working right.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point, human oversight. Even with super advanced AI, we still need human judges and lawyers making decisions.
So AI is a tool, not a replacement.
Exactly. It can help us be more efficient, more objective, but it can't replace human understanding, ethical judgment.
Good point. It seems like it's all about finding the right balance between human and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. It's going to take lots of discussion and work between legal people, computer scientists, ethicists, policymakers.
Okay, so opportunities, challenges. What about the legal side of things? Any laws or regulations about using AI in courtrooms?
That's a great question. It's a changing area, but some key legal principles apply.
Like what?
Well, like the right to a fair trial, like in Article 6 of the European Convention on Human Rights.
Right, everyone deserves a fair shot in court.
Right.
But how do we make sure that happens when AI is involved?
That's where it gets tricky. One of the biggest concerns is the black box problem. The way many algorithms work is hidden even from the people who design them.
So we might not even know how an AI made a decision that impacts someone's life.
That's the worry. It raises questions about accountability. If we don't understand the AI's reasoning, how can we challenge it? How can we make sure it's fair?
Sounds like transparency is really important.
Absolutely. We need to be able to understand how AI systems are making these decisions, especially when those decisions have legal consequences.
And how do we do that?
Well, that's where it gets even more complicated. There's a big debate about how to make AI transparent and accountable. Some experts say we need new laws just for AI. Others think we can adapt the laws we already have.
So it's still a work in progress.
Very much so. But it's a crucial conversation to have, because the use of AI in the justice system is only going to grow.
Okay, right to a fair trial. What other legal principles are relevant?
The right to privacy. AI systems use a lot of data, and that data can be very personal.
Like medical records, finances, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So we need to be careful that data is handled responsibly, ethically, and people's privacy is protected.
And how do we do that? Any laws about data privacy in AI?
There are. One big one is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation from the European Union. It sets strict rules about how personal data can be collected, used, and stored, and gives individuals more control over their own data.
So even if an AI is doing something legitimate, like helping solve a crime,
Yeah.
it still has to follow GDPR.
Exactly, and that can be tough because AI often needs a lot of data to work well.
So it's balancing act, using AI to improve justice, but protecting privacy.
Precisely, and
Yeah.
it's a balance we're still figuring out.
Sounds like a lot of complex legal and ethical stuff to consider.
Definitely. But it's an exciting field. It has the potential to completely change how justice works.
And that's what makes it so interesting, right?
Absolutely, and why we need to keep talking about it. Raise awareness about the benefits and the risks of AI in the justice system.
I feel like I've already learned a lot, and this is just the first part of our deep dive. What else is on the agenda for today?
We're going to look at some real cases that show the challenges and opportunities of using AI in justice.
Oh, case studies. Love those. I'm all ears. Let's dive in. Okay, so real-world cases where AI is bumping up against the justice system. What's first?
Let's start with one that went to the Court of Justice of the European Union, the Shishifa Holding case. It raised questions about those algorithms used for credit scoring and whether they fit with the GDPR rules on automated decision-making.
Credit scoring. That sounds a little outside the courtroom. How does that relate to the justice system?
It's a good example of how AI decisions in one area can affect someone's access to justice. Imagine being denied a loan or housing because of some algorithm you don't understand. That can make it harder to afford a lawyer or even to make bail.
Yeah, that makes sense. It shows how AI's impact can be, like, indirect, but still really important. Okay, what's another case?
Let's go to Germany. The German Federal Constitutional Court had to deal with the use of Palantir software by the police. This case was all about public safety versus individual privacy in the age of AI surveillance.
Palantir, I've heard of them. They're a big data company, right?
Right. Their software lets police analyze huge amounts of data to find potential crimes, but the court was worried about giving law enforcement too much power. Could lead to over-policing or people losing their privacy.
So it's the classic security versus freedom debate, but with a new tech twist.
Exactly. The Palantir case shows how AI makes us rethink our basic rights in the digital age.
Okay, so those cases are about the legal and ethical side of AI. Are there any examples of AI actually being used during a trial?
There are a few that are starting to pop up. One that got a lot of attention was a judge in Colombia who used ChatGPT for a case.
Wait, a judge used ChatGPT? That's straight out of science fiction.
Yeah, it got a lot of people talking.
Yeah.
The judge said he used it to help understand some legal ideas and to do research faster.
So it was like a research assistant not making any actual decisions.
Right, but it was still controversial. Some people said using ChatGPT could make the judge less impartial and that we don't know if its legal advice is any good.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a concern. It seems like there's a big difference between AI helping with research and AI actually deciding on a legal case.
Absolutely, and that's a difference that's going to become more and more important.
Speaking of differences, I'm curious about AI helping humans make decisions versus AI making decisions completely on its own. Is there a legal line there?
That's a great question and one that's being debated right now. There's a lot of discussion about whether AI should be allowed to make those big decisions alone, especially in things like criminal sentencing, where the consequences are so serious.
Yeah, I can see why that would be controversial. It feels different, an AI helping a judge versus an AI giving the verdict.
Exactly, and that brings us back to human oversight. Even if AI gets smart enough to make decisions on its own, many experts say there should always be a human involved to double-check those decisions and make sure they're fair.
So it's not just about what AI can do, but what it should do.
Exactly. The ethics are just as important as the technology itself.
This reminds me of that saying, with great power comes great responsibility. We're talking about some seriously powerful technology. We have to be really careful, really ethical about how we use it.
I completely agree. And that's why these conversations are so important, to make people aware of both the good and the bad that AI can do in the justice system.
It's like we're all figuring this out together, how to handle this new technology.
That's a great way to put it. And it's going to take everyone working together, experts and the public.
Speaking of the public, I wonder how people feel about AI in the justice system. Are they excited, skeptical, worried?
It's a mix, like you might expect. Some people are excited about how AI could make the justice system more efficient, more objective.
Like speeding up trials, reducing those backlogs.
Exactly. Others are more cautious, worried about bias, privacy, and human rights.
Yeah, those are all valid concerns, especially given what we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And we need to take those concerns seriously. We need open and honest conversations about the potential downsides of AI, as well as the potential benefits.
It's like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or bad.
That's a good way to think about it. And it shows why we need ethical guidelines, legal frameworks for how we use AI in justice.
Okay, so we've talked about the legal and ethical stuff, looked at some real cases, and considered how the public feels. What's next?
Let's shift gears a bit. Let's look at how AI is being used to improve access to justice, especially for people who maybe can't afford lawyers or traditional legal help.
That sounds really interesting. I'm ready to hear more. Okay, so we've covered the potential downsides, but now I'm really interested in the positive side of AI in justice. How's it being used to help people get better access to legal help?
One of the most promising areas is AI-powered chatbots, virtual assistants.
Like those customer service bots, but for legal advice.
Exactly those. They can answer basic legal questions, help fill out forms, even connect people with real lawyers if needed.
That sounds super helpful, especially for people who can't afford a lawyer or who don't live near legal services.
Exactly. It's about removing those barriers to justice, helping people understand their rights.
Are there any examples of these chatbots actually being used?
More and more all the time. Some courts are using them to help people navigate filing documents or to understand how the court process works.
Like a guide through the often confusing legal system.
Precisely. And some nonprofits are making chatbots specifically to help vulnerable groups, like domestic violence victims or tenants facing eviction.
That's amazing. It's like AI can level the playing field.
That's the idea. But it's important to remember, these chatbots have limits. They can't replace a human lawyer for really complex cases.
Right, but they seem like a great first step toward making legal help more accessible.
I agree, and it's not just chatbots. AI is being used to develop tools that help people understand legal documents.
So if someone gets a complicated contract, they could use an AI to help them figure it out.
Exactly. There are even tools being developed to help people write simple legal documents, like wills or powers of attorney.
That's incredible. It sounds like AI could really give everyone access to those legal tools.
That's the hope, but there are still challenges. Making sure these tools are accurate, that people feel comfortable trusting them with their information.
Trust is a big thing with any new technology, especially when it comes to the law. How do we build trust in these AI legal tools?
Transparency is key. People need to know how these tools work, what data they use, how they're making decisions.
So no more black boxes.
Right. We need AI we can understand, that we can trust. And we need to make sure everyone can use them, no matter their tech skills or their income.
It sounds like a lot of work is going into using AI for good in the justice system. What else is coming up? What's on the horizon?
One interesting area is online dispute resolution platforms.
Online dispute resolution. What's that?
It's a way to resolve legal disagreements online without going to court.
So like online mediation or something.
Exactly. And AI can help with that process. For example, AI algorithms can match people with the right mediators, analyze evidence, even suggest possible solutions.
That sounds super efficient. Could save people a lot of time and money.
Exactly. And it could make dispute resolution easier for people who can't travel to court or hire a lawyer.
It's like AI is creating new ways to get justice. What other innovative things are people working on?
Well, there's a lot of research into how AI can make criminal investigations better. For example, AI can be used to analyze crime scene data, identify suspects, even try to predict where future crimes might happen.
That's like something out of a crime show. But could AI really help stop crimes before they happen?
It might be possible, but it's something we need to be very careful about. We have to make sure those predictive policing tools are used ethically, that they don't lead to discrimination or unfair targeting.
Right, we don't want to end up in a minority report situation.
Exactly. It takes collaboration between law enforcement, tech experts, and the public to make sure these tools are used in a way that benefits everyone.
So it's not just about having the AI, it's about using it responsibly.
Absolutely. We have to think carefully about how these technologies impact individual rights, social justice, and the rule of law.
It seems like the future of AI and justice is still being figured out.
It is, and we're all part of shaping that future.
So what can our listeners do to be a part of this, to make sure AI is used for good?
Well, first, stay informed. Keep learning about AI and how it affects the justice system. There are tons of resources out there.
Okay, do your research. What else?
Get involved. Go to public forums. Talk to your elected officials. Tell them what you think about how AI should be used in justice.
Make your voice heard. Anything else?
Support organizations working to make AI development responsible and ethical.
That's a great idea. Any specific organizations you'd recommend?
Lots of them. The AI Now Institute and the Partnership on AI are both doing great work.
Fantastic. We'll put links to those in the show notes. Any final thoughts as we wrap up this deep dive?
The future of AI and justice isn't set in stone. It's something we're all creating through our choices, our research, and our involvement in these important issues.
It's kind of empowering to know we have a say in how this technology is used.
Absolutely. We all have a role in making sure AI is used to make justice fairer for everyone.
I think that's a great place to leave it. This has been a really insightful deep dive. We've covered so much: the potential for bias, the ways AI can make legal help more accessible. I'm feeling, I guess, cautiously optimistic about the future of AI and justice.
Me too. It's a complicated, fast-changing field, but it has the potential to really improve how our justice systems work.
Thanks so much for talking with us today. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was mine.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this exploration. Keep learning, keep asking those questions, and stay engaged in the conversation about AI and the future of justice. We'll see you at the next Future AI Paper Review.